Hello and welcome to episode 4 of Chaos Daily. We're still going. Amazing. Today's episode is brought to you by Tech. Thank you so much for the comment, man. I really appreciate it. Yeah, no, great comment, man. You brought up some really good points, and I did, as you can see, reply to you. I hope it didn't come out too standoffish. I'm really bad at typing text out and coming out as an asshole. It's something I need to work on. I don't understand. I'm too to the point. Yeah, I don't sugarcoat stuff. I just get the information out there and I don't really care about how it comes across. Episode 1, yeah, there was some shit that happened there. So I'm using Premiere, and the default project directory for Premiere is in a read-only folder directory tree. So unless Premiere is running or the planets are aligned, your files may or may not be there to be read. So when I went back to edit it after I reviewed the footage to adjust the volume, everything disappeared. And it was late at night, so I was fed up and I was like, screw it, so I just uploaded the video anyways. Second point, unsprung mass. That's going to be the topic of today's episode. We need to get this elephant out of the way and we need to stop beating this horse. It's a very good point, but it's a moot point, and we'll explain why. Carbon is strong and lightweight, but it doesn't matter because you need a lot of copper. Yeah, we'll go over this as well. It's also a moot point. It's not as heavy as people think. 8 kilowatt motor for 25 kilograms? And I said here, like, yeah, dude, I can get a 50 kilowatt motor for 27 kilograms, so I don't think you're looking at the right kind of motors. That's a bad motor. And even this one, this is a fat pig. This is a pig of a motor compared to mine. Mine, I'm going to be hopefully getting more than 50 kilowatts, and it'll be a lot lighter than this, as we'll go into, we'll show you. I've got spreadsheets. Yeah, we're getting technical, boys and girls. I hope you stick with, because there's some really interesting stuff we're going to go over today. Hub motor design looks cool, yes it does, but not why why we're doing it, and we'll go into that as well. We're not aiming for a performance motorcycle here. I'm not looking to build a GP bike. I'm not looking to build a hyper sports bike. I'm looking to build a bike that can get more than 200 kilometers in range. If we can get 200 kilometers of range on full charge, that's a win. That's a good practical bike. 200k is a decent amount of distance to travel in a single ride. That's what we're aiming for. If we can get that, it's comfortable to ride. It's got good maneuverability. You know, it's not a death trap. That's a win. That's what we're aiming for. So let's get into it. Unsprung mass. Here's the wiki page that he references. You can go read it if you want. We're not going to talk about what it is or why, what, you know, the ins and outs. You want to know, go learn, come back to the video, and you'll understand what we're talking about. So, spreadsheets. Now, let's start out by just putting a disclaimer here. This is all back of the envelope, really rough, estimated, you know, educated estimates, math, okay? None of these numbers are hardcore, okay? Everything here is just really approximate, close as I can get it with the resources, the time, and etc. that I have, okay? And we're gonna go over how much, as you can see here, the title of the spreadsheet is how heavy is it really? And we can find out how heavy it is really very easily, because I'm using CAD software. CAD software does this amazing thing that if you go to a part, see I've changed this one to carbon fiber now. Let's say this part, this is going to be carbon fiber composite, so plus or minus 10% in weight depending on the amount of epoxy and the amount of Kevlar that we use in it, that sort of stuff. We come in here, we can go high properties, physical. This weighs 700 grams, 773 grams. That is nothing. That is so incredibly light for a rotor housing, compared to, this is the motor that I linked him to in the description, in the comment that I posted, the reply. If you're wanting to build an electric anything, if you're converting your electric motorbike or you're converting your electric car, your car to an electric, come see these guys. Go to this website, hpevs.com. High performance EVs. They've got a huge selection of different motors. This AC20 the AC23. It's the same motor. It just depends which control unit you use. It just determines, you know, how. Yeah. So this AC20 is a 50 kilowatt motor that weighs 27 kilograms. This is what it looks like. Look at that casing. Look at all that metal hardware. I mean, a lot of it's aluminum and stuff, but you know, this is a pig of a motor. This is a huge chunk of metal and weight. It's heavy. You know, this is what people expect from electric motors, right? So this is why the guy made that very educated comment. You know, he brought up a very valid point, but we're going to go over why it doesn't matter for this project, because we are bypassing, we are literally just sidestepping a lot of the issues that would be issues if we used a motor like this for a hub-centered drive system. But yeah, if you're interested in doing your own project, man, like you mentioned, you said there in your comment that you've been inspired to get back into converting your own electric motorcycle, come check these guys out. You'll be pleasantly surprised. Prices are pretty good. This motor plus the drive unit, the electronics for it, is about $5,000 US, give or take, you know, oh well, plus 5,000 plus, around that number. Anyways, let's get back to it. So what I did was, using this feature in AutoCAD, I went through, we'll get to the windings just now, I went through and looked at, you know, the stator plates. These are steel alloy plates. I can tell you exactly, like, within 1% of, you know, if we went and had this manufactured, got it laser cut or whatever out of the steel, and it's really thin, so we'll get it laser cut. Within 1% accuracy to what it says on here and what the real life part will weigh. So there are a number of these. They can get all layered up. I think it's like 67 steel plates, and then we've got insulators, because you want to isolate the inductance fields between each plate to increase your magnetic field. We can get the weight of this. We can get, like I showed you, the weight of the housing, the motor, the magnets. Right. So now we're going to get some meat and potatoes here. The magnets are these magnets, these nuts, as they say. These are really good price. They come in a pack of 20. And now it doesn't say how much an individual one of these magnets weighs. I've looked really carefully. But what it does tell us down here is package weight for the shipping details. So this package weight includes the box and the packing and these, you know, they have to put non-magnetic material between the magnets to stop them sticking to each other. It's you know, one of the legal requirements of shipping large magnets like this. So there's extra weight in there, but we're going to ignore that and just say, okay, these, like 20 of these magnets weighs 2 kilograms, which means each magnet is about 100 grams. So from that, we can come back in here, we go, okay, the magnets weigh 100 grams, we have 56 of them, 5.6 kilograms of magnets. Now, the copper coils, and here's where stuff gets a little complicated. This representation of the copper windings that I've got is just that. It's just a representation. The only thing that is accurate about this representation is the 2mm enameled copper wire. The windings will be done with 2mm copper wire, and we can see that here. This is the sort of thing we'll be using. Also, again, very cheap, and I can get one of these rolls, 200 meters of wire. We'll work out how much wire we need for the whole stator. So what we did was, is we come in here to the laminations, and for one of these stators, we measure the height, we measure the width, and we know the depth is 100 mils. And that gives us a box that we're going to be wrapping these wires in. So we can go, you know, back of the napkin math and say, okay, so we've got our width, we've got our depth, we've got our height. We can work out from the height how many layers, like vertically, we have, so it'll make 9 wraps going up, and how many layers of wraps do we want? So that's the wraps going outwards. So this is one wrap, and then if I went round and started wrapping on top of these wires, that would be a second wrap, and so on and so forth. We worked out we'll get about 4 wraps. So we take the width times 2, the depth times 2, because remember the wire goes down the one side and then comes back the other side, so you need that length times 2. And then for every wrap, we want to add 4 millimeters to that length because it's now going even further distance because of the previous layer. So for every wrap we add an extra 4 millimeters, and so that's just 4 millimeters times the number of wraps, which gets added to this. And if you look here, this is the formula. This is a really crude formula for working out the length of the wire estimate for each stator. And that comes out to about 8.5 meters, give or take. And because we have the length of the wire, we know the diameter of the wire, which means we can get the area. Area times length is volume. And then we get the specific gravity of copper, which is 8.92 for enameled copper. It's roughly around there, which means we can get an estimated weight per stator. So now we have an estimated weight, which is 400 grams of copper per stator, 12 of them. Would you look at that? 5.7 kilograms worth of copper. We know we could probably even say plus, 10 or even 15% to that number. So that would be like what, 6.1, 6.2 kilograms of copper. Now that we've got these numbers, and we go through, we take the extra stuff, rotor housing, the rotor covers, rim and sprockets, swing arm weight. The swing arm, I can design a swing arm out of carbon fiber that'll weigh about 2 or 3 kilograms. Why don't we just even make that 3 kilograms, just for argument's sake. And then all the nuts and bolts and fasteners and stuff. All of this unsprung weight, again, back of the napkin here, it's an estimate, it's really approximate, comes to about 27 kilograms. This is including the swing arm. Now, I haven't included the weight of the rubber, the tire, because, when we do our comparison, the comparison will also have the same tire. So let's look at a regular bike. We've got a rim. Regular bike rims come in all shapes and sizes, but on average, for a not performance rim, because for performance rims you can get down to like the BST carbon fiber rims, which have a lot of metal hardware in them as well, so they're kind of cheating. They're not actually pure carbon fiber rims like these ones that I'm building. They weigh about 4 kilograms. An average weight for an average street rim, including the bearings and stuff inside of it, is between 10 and 12 kilograms. So we'll say 11 kilograms for argument's sake. The sprockets can weigh about 1.5 kilograms to 2 kilograms. Brake discs, and I really did my due diligence to go find these numbers. So here they're talking about the all-up weight of the tire, including the sprockets and stuff, and it came out to about 36 pounds. That's like what, half that? 15, 16, 17 kilograms? Ish. Say 15 kilograms. So that's including the sprockets and stuff. So as you can see here, I'm probably a little underweight for this estimate. The weight of the chain, oh my god, you want to talk about unsprung weight in a hump-centered electric motorcycle and the issues involved with having that extra mass as unsprung weight, and then neglect to realize that you're riding a vehicle with a chain drive that weighs around 2 kilograms, that is doing how many thousands of RPM, anywhere between 800 and 2000 RPM at speeds, that is going in an ellipse. And it's oh my god, the physics involved with chains is horrible, and just the fact that we're getting rid of a chain drive system is improving the performance of the suspension on this vehicle so much more than having a little extra unsprung weight. Let me just get that out of the way, okay? This is a big gripe that people forget about when they're talking about hub-centered versus conventional chain drive motorcycles. So chains, really, really bad. Next up, the brake caliper housing, etc. Anywhere between 2 and 3 kilograms. Caliper mount, the bracket that it's mounted to that keeps it in place, up to 1 kilogram. Swing arms. I couldn't find any decent numbers on this. I really did try. I went and googled like so many pages and went through so many forums just trawling for this sort of information. And again, why are the Americans talking about performance motorcycles? The Americans don't even know how to ride motorcycles. Let's not forget, They invented the Harley Davidson. Tractor with 2 wheels. Okay, so swing arm. Let's be, modest about it. So anywhere between 5 and 8 kilograms. So let's say 6.5 kilograms for the swing arm. Tubular steel or aluminum swing arm, round about that number. Weight of the axle, and bits and pieces like you got the fasteners, little bolts for the axle, your chain adjustment stuff, the fasteners for the calipers, fasteners for the sprocket, all the nuts and bolts and stuff. You will say about 1 kilogram. So all up, a regular bike's unsprung weight comes in under 30 kilograms. Surprise! It's about the same weight as what I'm doing. I know, mind-blowing, isn't it? When you start bypassing, when you're manufacturing a motorcycle out of carbon fiber is expensive. Why? Because you're usually trying to just do 1 or 2 parts. When your entire production line is geared around manufacturing stuff out of carbon fiber, it becomes so much cheaper to just make everything out of carbon fiber, rather than mixing in all of these metal parts, because then you need a separate type of production facility to do all the metal parts and a separate production facility for your carbon fiber. So the more stuff I can make out of carbon fiber, the better. It brings the cost down. So why not? And with that, some of you have noticed something missing from my list that is in this list. And that's this, and this. Chaos! How come you're not including the weight of the brake disc and the blah blah blah? Well, Jimmy, here is why. That is an enormous brake. Okay? This motor, any electric motor, has more braking force than the front discs. As it stands, where you would normally have the clutch lever on a motorcycle, we will have a clutch lever on this bike. And that clutch lever will be attached to a potentiometer that bypasses the current generated from deceleration. So regenerative braking. I'm sure you've heard of regenerative braking. It's where you roll off the throttle and the mass of the rider, the bike, and everything has to slow down, which turns the wheel, which turns the motor, which generates electricity, which you dump back into capacitors so you can use that electricity again to accelerate. We will be using regenerative braking, but sometimes you want to roll off the throttle and not come to a halt. You just want to roll. You just want to cruise along, Lower the throttle and you pull the clutch because, you're rolling to a stop or something, whatever reason. You want to just be able to coast. We're going to have the same feature. So if you're not very good at controlling rolling off on the throttle to control how much braking force the motor is applying, you can use the clutch to change, and you can feather that amount, It'll be a completely new riding experience. It'll take a bit of learning to get used to. I'm not saying this is going to be perfect. It's new territory, so we're going to have to do a lot of changing ourselves for this new dynamic of motorcycles and etc. Now, you'll notice here this ugly looking mass in the middle. This is just a mock-up, a representation. This is the mock-up that I did for my Motard, for my YZ250 two-stroke. I'm planning on converting that to an electric motorcycle. Here is that AC20 motor from the high-performance EVs. This is the control unit. This is a CAD file from their website, so thank you to them. I have to model the motor though. Email the guys if you have any questions. They're very helpful, very informative. They help me quite a lot with deciding what motor to use and what drive system to use. And then this is how many batteries we would need for about 150 kilometers of range. This is a lot of batteries. This is roughly 1,000 LG 18650 batteries. They are 3,000 milliamp hour batteries with, I think it's like 2 amp constant current, 6 amp max for 10 seconds. It works out to be a lot of amps. It's a lot of batteries, and it weighs almost as much as the bike itself, including the motor and stuff. So if you take the motor out of the bike, I think I worked it out, if I converted my bike to an electric system, I would add a total of about 10 to 20 kilograms of weight versus its stock weight with the two-stroke motor. So yeah, I'm just using these battery packs to sort of rough out how I'm going to arrange them in this bike, because I want to keep the weight as low to see this thing, this dot. That's the current center of gravity that the software is working out based on the mass of the components and parts. Here's something neat. So these covers, I realized I can make out of carbon fiber just as easily as trying to make them out of a steel plate. Now if we go look at our how heavy is it really spreadsheet, here are those rotor counters. And if I make them out of stainless steel 440C, they weigh about 1.4 kilograms. If I made them out of carbon fiber, and yeah, granted, I did a bit of weight saving. I changed the model a bit. Added these weight saving things in it. Check this out. 200 grams. It is literally 1/7 of the weight of the stainless steel plate, and probably stronger. And if you want to go down that road, if somebody wants to make a comment about carbon fiber not being as strong as steel or whatnot, just remember, I'm using CAD software. I can do stress analysis. I can give you real world numbers of what these things do and how they perform. So if you want to go down that road, if you want to pick up those boxing gloves, feel free. I've worked with carbon fiber before, personally. I've made carbon fiber components, structural components out of carbon fiber. And let me tell you, if you do it right, then these horror stories you hear about carbon fiber shattering and this, that, and the other, total bullshit. Those horror stories are because the people that made those components made it out of carbon fiber purely for weight saving, not for structural strength, right? They didn't take into account the direction of the weave. They didn't take into account if they would be requiring Kevlar into the mix, because when you add Kevlar into a carbon fiber composite, it prevents shattering. Yeah, it'll crack and it'll become bendy and flexy and stuff and be absolutely useless, but it stops it going into a million pieces all over the road. And that's why we're going to be using the Kevlar in the rim. For a part like this, we don't need the Kevlar. We just need pure, unadulterated, straight up strength, because it needs to transfer the shock from the wheels through these members, through the bearings to the swing arm. And that is the only purpose of these covers, and keeping the dirt out. See, there it is on the motor. So yeah, we can make these out of steel. We can make them out of aluminum. I don't want to make them out of aluminum because aluminum deforms under shock loads, whereas carbon fiber doesn't. It's just like, oh, you want to push me? Well, too bad. You'll either push me and I break, or you'll push me and I won't care. Those are your options. So again, thank you, what was it, Bartek? Thank you, Bartek, for your comment. It was very nice to actually have some feedback and see that people are paying attention and saying, hey, wait a minute. And yeah, I did the wait a minute thing myself about 6 months ago. I'm not coming into this project, all of a sudden. I've been mulling this stuff over in my head for almost a year now. I've had time to think about these issues and how to bypass them and how to solve problems. So there we go. I hope that hasn't been too boring. We didn't really do much of making stuff, but we did a lot of talking about the elephant in the room, which needed to be done before we go any further. We just have to clarify that, look, I understand. Yes, I've considered that. Yeah, no, it's not a problem, okay? We're good, okay? We're good. But feel free to ask the questions regardless. But just before you do, have a think. Has he thought about it? And if he has thought about it, how did he solve the problem? And then write your comment with how you would solve the problem, rather than just telling me I have a problem. I want to hear if you worked out a solution. Because I've probably worked out a solution, and I'm going to have to take the time to tell you my solution. I'd like to hear your solution to the problem as well. Because if we come up with the same solution, then it must be a good solution. If we come up with different solutions, that starts a conversation. Like, okay, this is interesting. I didn't consider that. You didn't consider mine. Or you did, but you came up with something else either way. Let's have a discussion about which is better. And you know, your idea might end up working in the bike. So it's win-win. I don't mind these things. I encourage them. If this is good, this is how we get progress, is when we work together to solve problems. Because my out-of-the-box thinking might not be the same as your out-of-the-box thinking, and your out-of-the-box thinking might come up with a solution that is better than mine. And that's what I want to see. I want those solutions. I think that just about covers it for today. What are we up to now? Jesus, half an hour. Okay, I'm going to shut up. I'm Chaos, you know that. This is Chaos Daily. This is episode 4. Come back tomorrow for episode 5. We're going to do something. I haven't decided yet. Until next time, expect the unexpected. Like, subscribe. I'll see you guys later.